Chapter 1: The Magical Computer. At 9 o'clock in the evening, the weather had already darkened. In modern society, 9 o'clock is the time when nightlife begins. This is especially true for many young people. However, there are also many people who are still working hard for this beautiful life of their own. Under the bright LED light, Yu Liang took a screwdriver and connected the solid-state drive in front of him to the computer. He is a cybersecurity officer for a large private import-export company. Although it can't be compared with those sales elites, after a year, they can still have a small income of 200,000 yuan. In Yongcheng, a new first-tier city, it can be regarded as more than enough than the top. Coupled with the sake of the locals, life is still pretty good. Yesterday, Yu Liang picked up a 1 terabyte Great White Shark SSD in the grocery store in the downstairs community. Because I am engaged in this line of work, so the purchase price is not expensive. The reason why I got an old hard drive is to upgrade my computer. After all, his old desktop computer was already in years ago. Of course, if you don't play the latest games, don't draw various blueprints. Just do your office work and watch movies occasionally. That's more than enough. It's just that everyone knows it. The longer the computer is used, the more various software is installed in it. Hard drive. When I bought it that year, I felt that the 500 gigabyte hard drive was big enough. But look now. What's the matter? Back then, my structure was still too small. Today's hard drives, let alone 1 terabyte, even 2 or 3 terabyte are everywhere. Installing the hard disk of the desktop computer is not complicated, and Yu Liang quickly fiddled with it. Then he turned on the computer, and in computer management, rescanned the disk. The next moment, a new disk was displayed immediately. When Yu Liang was about to carry out the next formatting operation, a dialog suddenly popped up on the computer interface. Do you want to bind a magic hard disk? Weather. What is this? Yu Liang was stunned for a moment, then became excited. After all, he is only 25 years old this year, and it has only been 3 years since he graduated from college. So, he's no stranger to things like systems. Could it be that he has become the chosen one? After all, Yu Liang's university major is the Department of Computer Science. Whether it's software or hardware, it's all covered. Although he ended up working as a network security engineer in a trading company, he hasn't given up on his skills. This was the first time he encountered such a situation. Taking a deep breath, Yu Liang chose yes without hesitation. The next moment, the computer started running quickly. The old-fashioned fan word, and the sound seemed to get a little louder at this moment, making people a little worried whether this old guy might go on strike at any time. Fortunately, after a few difficult minutes, the interface on the screen finally changed. Yu Liang also breathed a sigh of relief. For him, the few minutes just now counted down like years. Host, Yu Liang. Race, human. Possessibility, full score 5 points. Computer software, LV, 0.9. Computer hardware, LV, 0.4. Number of lucky draws owned, 0 times. Looking at this attribute, Yu Liang's face darkened slightly. What the hell? Who is this looking down upon? My university major is the Department of Computer Science. I have studied for 4 years, although the knowledge I have learned is relatively old. However, everything remains the same, and he understands the basic things anyway, and he doesn't know how many times he has dismantled computers, switches, service stations, etc. However, the evaluation given to him by this hard drive turned out to be LV 0.9, not even LV1. As for the LV 0.4 computer hardware evaluation, Yu Liang directly ignored it. He muttered a curse in his mouth. If he wasn't afraid of yelling at himself, he would have scolded this hard-won system away. He promises to scold for 3 days and 3 nights without repetition. The host has just bound a magical computer, and a special gift package is given to novices. Do you want to receive it? Whether. Nonsense, of course choose yes. Although Yu Liang was a little bit worried about the computer's evaluation of him. However, to be a man, one must have a mind as broad as the sky. Therefore, Yu Liang decided not to bother with this ignorant system. With Yu Liang clicked a yes. The computer screen flickered again. This time, a huge roulette appeared on the screen. Everything on the roulette is densely packed with white light spots. It seemed to have petty print on it. However, All the characters are dim and cannot be read clearly. The next moment, the roulette turned directly. After 20 seconds, it slowly stopped, and the pointer steadily designated a small square. Then, the handwriting on the small square lit up. Permanent garbage station. What's going on here? My newbie gift pack should be distributed by lottery. However, what is the concept of distributing a garbage station? The corner of Yu Liang's mouth twitched slightly, and he moved the mouse to the garbage bin. As a result, a description emerged. When Yu Liang read the above explanation clearly, his eyes were filled with surprise. It turned out that this garbage station has unimaginable magical functions. It is not the kind of garbage dump that comes with the computer system. Rather, it belongs to the garbage dump of the real world. This garbage station has two functions. The first function is to search for all forgotten or abandoned items within a radius of 10 miles from Yu Liang himself. In other words, if something is hidden, however, because of the passage of time, or some reasons, it was forgotten. Thus, these things become ownerless. And through this garbage station, you can see all unowned objects within this range. That is to say, after you pick it up, you can use it with confidence without worrying about being caught by a thief. The second function is a bit mysterious. That's this dumpster, and there's a search option. It can be used once a month to be able to search for something by name. Of course, this thing must also be unowned. And the range, worldwide, as long as it is still on this earth, it can be found. At this moment, Yu Liang's heart was shaking. In human history, the valuable period is only a few thousand years. However, in these thousands of years, it is unknown how many precious things have been abandoned or forgotten. Today, there are magic computers and garbage dumps. These treasures may all see the light of day again. Yu Liang suppressed his excitement and clicked on the garbage bin. The next moment, countless words swish, swish, swish appeared on the computer screen. Within a radius of 10 miles, all the unowned things are in it. Of course, the vast majority are truly worthless junk. However, there are also rare things inside. Gold, silver, copper coins, emeralds, renminbi, US dollars, euros, ghost yuan. Ah, this is it? My goodness. This is Bitcoin. Chapter 2 Bitcoin worth $80 billion. Bitcoin. As a native of Manhwa, most of you must have heard of the name Bitcoin. Although the vast majority of Manhwa people must have never seen what Bitcoin looks like. However, as a qualified network security engineer who graduated from a computer department with professional skills close to LV1, Yu Liang is no stranger to Bitcoin. After graduation, Yu Liang has been working in this company. Because the company's vice president in charge of network security and head of the network department is an old friend of his uncle Yu Jiang, so his immediate boss treats him fairly well. In the past few years, Yu Liang has traveled to beautiful countries in Europe with his supervisor. It can be regarded as having seen the world. When he was in Europe, a technician from the reception company boasted to him, saying that he bought a few bitcoins before they became popular. And now it's rich. That's right, although only a few bitcoins. But it is already rich. The current market price of Bitcoin is already more than 20,000 US dollars. You read that right. If one Bitcoin is sold today, it will be worth 20,000 US dollars, or about 140,000 renminbi. If it is 10 Bitcoins, it is 200,000 US dollars, or about 1.4 million yuan. If this is not considered getting rich, then what is called getting rich? Therefore, Yu Liang was also curious about Bitcoin and applied for a wallet on the largest virtual currency trading network. However, the price of Bitcoin at that time was already unattainable for him. Therefore, Yu Liang did not buy it. I can only look at the empty wallet inside that time is gone. He vowed that if he could travel back to the era when Bitcoin was worthless, he must not buy stocks, houses, or start a business, but buy all his money in Bitcoin. Bitcoin appeared in 2009. The earliest Bitcoin price was generated in 2010. A programmer in the beautiful country exchanged 10,000 Bitcoins for 2 pizza coupons worth $25. This is the first time that Bitcoin has a price. 10,000 Bitcoins, roughly equal to $50. After conversion, a Bitcoin is not even a penny, only a mere 0.5 cents. And now, $20,000. In just over 10 years, it has increased by a full 4 million times. In the world, what kind of business is there Is there anything crazier than it? Now, everyone knows that Bitcoin is worth money. Therefore, as long as there are people who have Bitcoins, they all collect them carefully. However, when this thing was first born, it cost less than a penny. Naturally, not many people care. So, the possibility of Bitcoin being forgotten is not small. At this time, looking at the 11 Bitcoin keys lying quietly in the garbage dump, Yu Liang was so excited that it was difficult to calm down. For Bitcoin transactions, in addition to the secret key, there is also a Bitcoin wallet. It's a place to store your digital currency, which is essential no matter what kind of exchange you use. This storage wallet stores the private key for Bitcoins, which is a secret number, a 256-bit string. Use your private key to access your Bitcoins. This private key allows you to move freely in the market. No matter which Bitcoin trading platform you buy on, as long as the private key is in your hands, you can sell it in any market. At this time, the 11 Bitcoin private keys just appeared in the garbage dump. In other words, these 11 Bitcoins were actually forgotten within 10 kilometers of Yu Liang as the center point. As for why their original owners had forgotten them, maybe it's because the person in charge of these private keys suddenly encountered misfortune, so it's too late to explain, and this private key happens to be known only by him? This is only within a radius of 10 kilometers. So, how many forgotten Bitcoins are there in the world? As soon as this idea came up, Yu Liang broke into a cold sweat with excitement. He opened the garbage bin again and found the top global search. Type Bitcoin into the box. After clicking OK, the machine started running crazily. A full 5 minutes passed. Schwa! Rows of Bitcoin wallets and private keys flowed out like a waterfall. Swipe. Yu Liang never imagined that one day he would feel so beautiful when he saw the swiping screen. I don't know how long it took, but the machine finally stopped. Then, Yu Liang glanced at the statistics. Even though he was mentally prepared, he couldn't help but gasp. God! 410,3438 Bitcoins. Worldwide, more than 4 million Bitcoins have been forgotten. What an incredible thing this is. Bitcoin is not infinite. Unlike most currencies, Bitcoin is not issued by a specific monetary institution. It is generated through a large number of calculations based on a specific algorithm. The Bitcoin economy uses a distributed database composed of many nodes in the entire P2P network to confirm and record all transaction behaviors, and uses cryptography to ensure the security of all aspects of currency circulation. The decentralized nature of P2P and the algorithm itself can ensure that the value of the currency cannot be artificially manipulated by producing a large number of Bitcoins. Cryptography-based design allows Bitcoins to be transferred or paid only by real owners. This also ensures the anonymity of currency ownership and circulation transactions. The biggest difference between Bitcoin and other virtual currencies is that its total quantity is very limited and it is extremely scarce. The currency system used to have no more than 10.5 million in 4 years, after which the total number will be permanently limited to 21 million. Although mining is far from over now. However, 4 million pieces have been forgotten. This forgetting does not mean being stolen, but that it is really gone. Just like gold will be buried in the ground and sink into the sea, paper money will be burned, torn, and so on. Bitcoins, too, will be lost. However, this amount of loss is really a bit large. Already a little dizzy, Yu Liang quickly calculated. If every Bitcoin is worth 20,000 US dollars, so how much are 4 million Bitcoins worth? $80 billion? My God, do you actually have such a large amount of wealth in your hands? Yu Liang trembled with excitement. However, he also knew that this was just wealth on paper. It is not an easy task to actually exchange them into currencies of various countries. If he sold it all at once, it will definitely cause a Bitcoin crash. Therefore, if you want to maximize your benefits, you still need a little bit. Perhaps these Bitcoins may not be able to sell all of them when he dies. Chapter 3: The Millionaire. After half an hour, Yu Liang, who was hot all over, finally calmed down. He clicked the save option without hesitation and saved all the 4 million Bitcoin keys. Then it is necessary to find a way to exchange these Bitcoins into currencies that you can use. For ordinary people, even if you hold Bitcoin in your hand, but it is not so easy to change to RMB. However, as the saying goes, it is not difficult for those who meet, but not for those who are difficult. Yu Liang has enough research on Bitcoin. Before Bitcoin was banned in China, Bitcoin could be converted into RMB at any time on domestic trading platforms. However, since the domestic ban, all trading platforms can only be moved to foreign countries. For example, at present, Yu Liang can only trade outside the market. All over the world, there are many platforms for trading virtual currencies. Transactions can be made in any country that does not ban Bitcoin. Of course, you must first have an account of your own. Yu Liang thought for a moment, but did not choose his USD account. It's very simple. If you use that account, then when you withdraw cash, you will inevitably incur taxes and fees. Yu Liang doesn't want to add bricks and tiles to the beautiful country. If Yu Liang only had a dozen or so Bitcoins in his hands, he certainly wouldn't think so much. But more than 4 million Bitcoins. Well, if you want to mention them all, you probably have to open an account in a bank all over the world. Yu Liang logged into the Huobi Trading Center where he usually goes and took a look at the current market value of Bitcoin. A Bitcoin is 20,446 US dollars. After thinking about it, he transferred a total of 50 Bitcoins into his wallet. Then he placed an order for 10 pieces separately. In almost a moment, Bitcoin was successfully sold. 10 Bitcoins in the sea of Bitcoins with a market value of more than 1 trillion US dollars can't even make a little bit bigger waves. However, although this money is not seen by large institutions. However, in Yu Liang's eyes, it was already quite extraordinary. When withdrawing coins, Yu Liang directly chose RMB to withdraw cash. After deducting the handling fee, there are also more than 200,000 US dollars, which is equivalent to more than 1.4 million renminbi. In just one night, he is now a veritable millionaire. Xiao Liang, it's 12 o'clock. Go to sleep, and I have to go to work tomorrow. Mother Shihui knocked on the door lightly and whispered. Yu Liang quickly said, "Okay, Mom, I understand. Although I got a magical hard drive today. However, if you want to fully understand this hard disk, you still need a certain amount of time to study it. Sharpening a knife does not cut firewood by mistake. The body is the most important." Yu Liang washed up hastily, then fell asleep. However, I was so excited today that I couldn't fall asleep. Tossed and turned on the bed until 3 or 4 in the morning before falling asleep in a daze. While sleeping soundly, the phone rang. Open your eyes and see. What the hell, is it only 8:30? What then? It's 8:30? The unit where he works is not far from home, in an office building that can be reached within a 10-minute walk. Although this office building is not new anymore, it is an old building with a history of more than 20 years. However, this location is good, close to the city center, at the intersection of Metro Line 1 and Line 2. Therefore, there are quite a few people who are willing to work here. Yu Liang used to choose this company because it is close to home and convenient transportation is also a major factor. The company clocks in at 9 o'clock and 8:30, which really can't be considered early. He glanced at the notification of the incoming call and connected. "Dad, what's the matter? Did you kid not get up?" "Ah, how do you know?" "Hey, you are my son. When I saw you sleeping in the morning, I knew I stayed up late last night." "Hey, you are getting older, so you should play less games in the future." Yu Hai sighed and said, "I won't be with you." Said, "Go to work quickly." "Okay, thanks, Dad." After hanging up the phone, Yu Liang glanced at the phone. "Do you still need to go to work after owning this magical hard drive? Hey, let's go. God knows if this hard drive will always exist." After selling all the Bitcoins and ensuring that the huge sum of money for food and clothing in this life arrives in the account, let's resign. Yu Liang got up, got dressed, washed up, and ran out. On the way, I bought a pair of flatbread fried dough sticks with soy milk. Arrived at the company at 8:57 a.m. and successfully clocked in using the software DingTalk. However, when I entered the company today, I felt completely different from before. It seems that his mentality has unconsciously undergone a huge change. At the very least, there is no longer the conscientious and cautious attitude of the past. At this time, Yu Liang's mentality was extremely relaxed. It's an attitude of not staying here but staying there. Along with it, even his eyes and behavior have undergone subtle changes. However, even people who are extremely familiar may not be able to see it. Yu Liang's job is actually not complicated. It is to manage the company's network security well. Of course, if the various departments want to hold meetings, conduct video conferences, etc., he also needs to proofread and help. All in all, this job is quite easy. Plus 200,000 a year. To be honest, although there is no room for development and improvement, it is more than enough if it is used for retirement or to maintain life. At work today, Yu Liang checked the work log. I found that there was nothing I needed myself. So, he began to fish in an open and honest manner. Opening QQ Messenger app, Yu Liang found an old friend. This old friend is called Tan Yun, and he is an employee of an agency company. His main business is to do various things overseas for clients. The two companies have many businesses, and even Yu Liang is familiar with him. Yu Liang, Mr. Tan, are you there? Tan Yun, Mr. Yu, what's the matter? Yu Liang, I want to open a cash account overseas. How much is the handling fee? Tan Yun, oh, Mr. Yu has made a fortune. Yu Liang, to get rich is to open an account. Tan Yun, all right, I promise to give you the best price. In which country do you want to open an account? Yu Liang, let me think about it. One from Singapore, one from Germany, one from Portugal, and one from the Devils. Tan Yun, Yu Liang? Tan Yun, brother, do you want to open accounts in 4 countries at the same time? Yu Liang, yeah, what's the matter? Tan Yun, nothing, but the handling fee is probably not small. Yu Liang, it's okay. I will prepare the certificates and materials. Sorry for the trouble. Tan Yun, all right, wrap it on me. Yu Liang, hey, Mr. Tan, remember to hurry up. Tan Yun, urgent equals more money. Yu Liang, yes. The reason for opening accounts in different countries is naturally because Yu Liang wanted to deceive others. Moreover, Bitcoin is traded in some countries without taxation. This tax rate is also a great fortune. If you can save it, save it. Chapter 4, Repaying the Mortgage. Open the bank card and look at the more than 1.4 million renminbi lying quietly inside. For the former Yu Liang, this is undoubtedly a huge sum of money. So, how to use this money? Yu Liang already had a plan in mind. Pay off the mortgage. Yu Liang's parents had children relatively early, and the first child was born when he was 24 years old. They often express regret about this. Because of Yu Liang, there is no such thing as a two-person world. However, after the country opened up the second child, they immediately responded to the call and gave Yu Liang a younger sister. Therefore, Yu Liang, who is 25 years old this year, has a younger sister who is only 5 years old with a 20-year age difference. Because Yu Hai and Shi Hui both have jobs and are relatively busy. Therefore, the two grandparents who live in the same community take the initiative to take care of the granddaughter during the day. After going to kindergarten last year, it was even more obligatory to take over the pickup and drop-off work. They are not happy when others refuse to let them. Yu Liang's family is a native of Yongcheng. This is true regardless of patrilineal or matrilineal. However, the paternal lineage withered, leaving only his father Yu Hai and his uncle Yu Jiang. As for grandparents, I heard that Yu Liang had met these two old people before, but at that time, Yu Liang was still in his infancy, so he really didn't have much memory. On the contrary, it is the mother's line that has spread branches and leaves and has many relatives. Although Grandpa and Grandma are not young, they are agile and energetic. Taking care of the little granddaughter every day, she is extremely happy, not only never complaining, but secretly subsidizing her daughter's family. Of course, Yu Liang also has a brother-in-law. It's just that my uncle left Yongqing a long time ago and developed in Shanghai. I heard that he did well, at least much better than his parents. Houses in Yongqing, or housing prices in most places across the country. In the past few years, it was like riding a rocket, whizzing upwards. The uncle Yu Jiang who works in the bank urged his younger brother Yu Hai to buy a house for Yu Liang with a loan as early as 4 years ago. That house is in the Changfeng section of the urban area, 138 square meters for small bedrooms, 2 living rooms, 1 kitchen, and 2 bathrooms. This apartment is quite good. When I bought it at the beginning, It was 23,000 yuan per square meter, which emptied all the savings of the family and repaid the loan of more than 1 million yuan. But now, the housing price there has already risen to more than 35,000 per square meter. If you want to buy now, I'm afraid that if the wallets of Yu Hai and his wife were emptied, plus the wallets of the 4 grandparents, it would not be enough. Now this money is just right for repaying the mortgage. As for your own expenses, if you sell 10 bitcoins per day, according to the current selling price, that is a daily income of 1 million. As pocket money, no matter what is enough. And there are more than 4 million bitcoins on hand, and they can be sold at a rate of 10 per day, which can be sold for more than 400,000 days. This really can't be sold out until death. Well, after the opening of bank cards in various countries, the speed will be accelerated. After being busy in front of the computer for a long time, at noon, Yu Liang took a vacation and took a taxi to the Dashani Street branch of China Merchants Bank. His uncle, Yu Jiang, is the director of the credit department of the Dashani Street branch. He is considered a small leader in the bank, and he is also the leader with authority. He was the one who coordinated the loan approval back then. When he arrived at the bank gate, Yu Liang didn't go in directly, but made a phone call first. Uncle. Well, Xiao Liang, what's the matter? Yu Jiang said casually while looking at the document in his hand. Yu Liang is his nephew, his only biological nephew. He is also relatively close to this nephew. The relationship between the older generation is not comparable to that among the only children in modern times. Otherwise, he would not have forced his younger brother to buy a house for his nephew. Uncle, I'm at the bank. Are you there? Yes, you go to the 3rd floor. I'm in the office. Okay. Yu Liang opened the door and hurried up to the 3rd floor. Yu Jiang glanced at him and said, "What's the matter?" Elders who have a good relationship will not pretend to receive him, but will not take him seriously. Only those relatives who are far away or do not usually move around will treat their relatives as guests. Uncle, I'm here to pay back the money. Yu Liang said straight to the point. What? Yu Jiang raised his head in surprise, with a confused look on his face. He still knows the situation of this nephew very well, even better than Yu Hai, Yu Liang's father. After all, he works in finance, knows a lot, and has seen a lot in the market, far better than Yu Hai, a middle school teacher. Uncle, I made a fortune and want to pay off the mortgage in advance. Repay the mortgage? Yu Jiang finally put down the documents in his hand. His expression was a little dignified, and he said, Xiao Liang, do you know how much you have to pay back? Yu Liang's mortgage was not repaid by himself, but by his parents. Although Yu Liang said that he has to pay back the money by himself, but he was still rejected by his stubborn father. In Yu Hai's heart, since he had a son, it was his father's responsibility to prepare a wedding house for his son. As for how his son will fare in the future, there is really nothing he can do. Yu Liang coughed lightly and said, Uncle, I know if you pay it back now, it will be around 1.2 million. Yu Jiang frowned and said, You have 1.2 million? Have. Yu Jiang's face became more and more serious, and he said, You boy, what are you doing? How come you have so much money? In this sentence, his tone was already quite severe. Only this kind of elder, who sincerely treats him as a close relative, will treat Yu Liang with such an attitude. If the relationship is not close to a certain extent, dare to speak like this. Guaranteed that the other party will choke you, so that you can't get off the stage. Yu Liang smiled wryly and said, Uncle, if you don't believe me so much, would I still do something illegal? Yu Jiang pondered for a while and said, That's right. You have the guts to do illegal things. But where did you get the money from? For ordinary people, 1.2 million is definitely not a small number. As Yu Liang's uncle, he had to ask clearly. Yu Liang chuckled and said, Uncle, this is what I earned from buying bitcoins. What? Yu Jiang asked suspiciously. You boy, when did you buy Bitcoin? It's been many years, but at that time it was just for fun, and I invested my New Year's money in it. After I bought it, I forgot. Yu Liang shrugged his shoulders and said, No, I tidied up the old computer a few days ago. Remember? Yu Jiang's expression became extremely strange. Bought it early? Forgotten? This is such a goddamn excuse. However, looking at his nephew with a calm face, he was silent for a long time and said, Call your parents over. Chapter 5 Spend 1 million. Please draw a lottery. Yu Liang's father, Yu Hai, was a glorious junior high school people's teacher. His mother is an old lady who works in a state-owned enterprise. Although there is no possibility of promotion and salary increase, the job is quite easy and she can take care of her family. After receiving Yu Zhang's call, the couple hurried to the bank. There is no way, as a parent, I suddenly heard my son take out 1.2 million in one breath. Their family is not the kind of wealthy family who treats money like dung. Hearing this suddenly, instead of being happy, he was shocked. However, when they came to the bank and looked at the receipt that Yu Liang had just typed out, they were also stunned for a while. Inside the bank, all money transfer records can be queried. Not to mention that Yu Liang, the holder of the bank card, was right in front of him. Even if he wasn't there, Yu Jiang could find out a note saying he wanted to review Yu Liang's loan qualifications. So, see the name of the transfer party above. Even if the three of Yu Jiang had doubts, they could only choose to believe Yu Liang's words. Xiao Liang, since you are rich, why didn't you tell me when you bought the house? Yu Hai asked in confusion. Yu Liang shrugged his shoulders and said, Didn't I forget it? Besides, when we bought a house, the price of Bitcoin was not high enough to sell it. Yu Hai's eyes widened, and he said, Stinky boy, I seem to remember that at the end of last year, there were more than 60,000 US dollars in Bitcoin. Why didn't you take it out at that time? Yu Liang touched his nose and thought to himself. At that time, I didn't have a hard drive yet. Even if you want to take it, you can't take it out. However, there is no need to say this sentence. He coughed lightly and said, Uncle, I really forgot. Trust me. Yu Jiang frowned slightly and said in his heart, I believe you a ghost. However, apart from this possibility, he really couldn't imagine where his nephew's bitcoins came from. Could it be that before he went to university, he had already started? Xiao Liang, how many of that? What coins do you have in your hand? Shi Hui asked suddenly. Brother Yu Jiang immediately concentrated his attention. This is the core of the problem. Yu Liang chuckled and said, Mom, there aren't many more. Then there are more? Okay, let me keep it for you. Shi Hui said as a matter of course. I will save it for you and use it when you marry a wife in the future. Yu Liang's complexion was a little dark. What the hell, that's more than 4 million bitcoins. Even if I hand them over to you, can you really handle them? Yu Jiang shook his head slightly and said, Xiao Liang, how many do you have? Yu Liang said helplessly, It's really not much, that's all. He held up 4 fingers. There are 4 more. Yu Jiang thought for a while and said, Sister and sister, this money is earned by Xiao Liang himself. Let's put it on him. For bitcoins, that's 80,000 US dollars, equivalent to more than 500,000 yuan. If it was before, Yu Jiang would definitely be worried. But now, Yu Liang has spent 1.2 million to repay the mortgage. This shows that the child has begun to understand. Then let him handle the money himself. Shi Hui was quite sorry, but since the uncle had spoken, she listened. Repaying the mortgage also requires complicated procedures. However, under the operation of the insider Yu Jiang, Yu Liang successfully repaid the more than 1 million mortgage. Both Yu Hai and Shi Hui breathed a sigh of relief. They're the ones who are paying back the money, although the combined wages of the two are not low. But the mortgage of several thousand a month is still a huge pressure. Now that is debt-free. After completing the formalities, the family of 3 left the bank. They first went to kindergarten and brought home Yui, who was almost 5 years old. Yu Liang's family and grandparents live in an old community in Yongcheng. However, although it is an old community, elevators were also installed because of the hot renovation of the old community in the past 2 years. It is much more convenient for the old man to go up and down the stairs. After Shi Hui got home, she dragged her parents and chatted. Grandpa and Grandma are also very happy. When their family first bought the house, they scraped together 4 wallets. Because I don't want to have too much pressure on repayment, I chose 60% down payment. The mortgage is the biggest monthly expense for the daughter and son-in-law's family. Now that this confidence trouble has been solved, he is naturally overjoyed. Although the 2 old people don't know what Bitcoin is. However, as long as it is money earned through legal means, they will admit it. After returning home at night, Yu Liang turned on the computer. However, just when he clicked on the magical hard drive, a sentence jumped out suddenly. The consumption limit of the host has exceeded 1 million renminbi. Do you want to start a lottery? Yu Liang was taken aback. When he was researching this magical hard drive yesterday, he found that there was no other function except for the permanent garbage bin. But now he understood a little bit. Consumption amount? 1 million? Oh, it turns out that after spending 1 million, you can draw a lottery. Chapter 6 Upgrade. One time becomes permanent. Lottery. Of course there will be a lottery. If you don't draw a lottery, you are an idiot. Yu Liang clicked the draw without hesitation. To be honest, he doesn't have much desire for so-called money now. After all, even according to the current plan, there is a guaranteed income of at least 1 million yuan a day. What kind of bike do you need then? However, the performance of this magical hard drive is too incredible. Therefore, Yu Liang has unlimited expectations for it. Click yes. The next moment, the roulette appeared and began to spin. At this time, Yu Liang suddenly discovered something. Before that, the handwriting on the roulette was obscure, and it was impossible to see it at all. But at this moment, he could vaguely see that the roulette seemed to be divided into several large pieces. Skills, items, other. 20 seconds later, the roulette pointer finally stopped slowly and hovered over the item skill. Immediately afterwards, a line of words jumped out. Congratulations to the host. You have won the 6 cents single. Do you want to use it? Yu Liang hovered over the 6 cents. The above explanation is quite simple. The 6 cents has the magical function of seeking good luck and avoiding bad luck, and can directly point to the ultimate goal in the dark. 6 cents? Yu Liang is very familiar with this word. It is rumored that the 6 cents has many wonderful functions, and the biggest function is to seek good luck and avoid bad luck, as mentioned above. For example, there are 2 roads. If you take this road today, you may encounter a car accident. And take another road, you can reach your destination smoothly. Of course, this is just one metaphor. Therefore, although the 6 cents is a very general term, it has a great effect. Those who are born with a 6 sense, almost everyone is a successful person. However, looking at the 2 words single, Yu Liang was speechless for a while. This system is too stingy. Well, but think about it, if something like the 6 cents can be bought for $1 million, it would be too cheap. At this moment, another sentence popped up on the computer screen. Given that the consumption of the host reaches 1 million for the first time, a certain skill or item can be upgraded, single to permanent. At present, the host has the skill 6 cents, single, and the item garbage station, permanent. Do you want to upgrade the 6 cents, single? Whether? Yu Liang's eyes lit up immediately. What the hell? There is such a good thing. During the novice spree, a permanent item was directly presented, the garbage station. Spending 1 million for the first time can also upgrade the skill 6 cents, single, to permanent. Well, good, very good. Yu Liang clicked yes without hesitation. So, the 6 cents, single, on that screen becomes the 6 cents, permanent. Move the mouse and click use on the option of the 6 cents. The next moment, Yu Liang's head suddenly became cool. It was an indescribable feeling, like a brick-moving worker who was sweating profusely on a hot day, suddenly entered an air-conditioned room and took a sip of ice-cold Fat Boy water. That kind of cold, refreshing feeling all over the body. Yu Liang shivered, and then felt his whole body sublimated. After a long time, this feeling gradually subsided. I fiddled with the hard disk again and found that there was no change. Look at the balance in your bank card. Yu Liang sighed. Although in the card bring the previous deposits, there is still about 200,000. However, no matter how you look at the money, it seems to be pitifully small. So, he turned on the computer and logged into Huobai.com. However, just when he wanted to continue selling bitcoins, a vague uneasiness suddenly surged in his heart. Of course, this feeling is very light and slight. After thinking about it, Yu Liang rummaged through the drawer and found 2 bank cards. Generally speaking, when a person opens an account in a bank, he will only choose one bank. However, Yu Liang has primary savings cards from 3 different banks. China Merchants Bank, because of the uncle's relationship, the loan is also from China Merchants Bank. Of course, a bank card is required. In addition, the Yongqing Bank card is his salary card. The Ping An Bank card was the card he used to buy an insurance before. Now Yu Liang is on Bitstamp. Bitstamp is one of the world's largest Bitcoin trading platforms. It is headquartered in Slovenia and was established in 2011. Support virtual coin transactions such as Ethereum, Bitcoin, Litecoin, Ethereum Classic, etc., with a daily transaction volume of more than 3 billion yuan. Bind his own Yongqing Bank card, and then sold 20 Bitcoins in batches. The speed is very fast, and the transaction is almost instant. Here we come to OKEX again. This is one of the world-renowned international digital asset sites, which mainly provides global users with spot and derivatives trading services of Bitcoin, Litecoin, and Ethereum digital assets, and belongs to OKEX Technology Company Limited. The Ping An Bank card is bound to this Bitcoin transaction network. This time he sold 25 Bitcoins. However, just when the 26th piece was about to be sold, a faint bad feeling suddenly lingered in my heart. Therefore, Yu Liang decisively chose to give up. Chapter 7 New Attributes. 45 Bitcoins. This evening, Yu Liang sold 45 Bitcoins in one go. Moreover, Yu Liang's sixth sense told him that this deal would not bring him any danger. Yu Liang is very convinced of this. The magic hard drive has already demonstrated incredible abilities, so how could Yu Liang doubt it? Compared with yesterday, the price of Bitcoin today has risen slightly. Although it only fluctuated by more than $100, it is converted into RMB. That is a Bitcoin, you can get 700 yuan more. In short, 45 Bitcoins brought him a huge income of 6 million yuan. Moreover, the money is still legal. Yu Liang rubbed his chin, lost in thought. At this point, he had already grasped some of the operating rules of the magic hard drive. If this thing wants to work, it must draw a lottery. However, the conditions of the lottery: consumption. For every 1 million spent, there is a chance to draw a lottery. But the problem is that these drawn prizes are relatively poor, and there is a high probability that they are only single-use qualifications. Well, want to upgrade single to permanent again? I'm afraid it's not easy. Perhaps this possibility will only be possible when the consumption amount has been greatly increased. Then, there is only one thing he is trying to do now: consumption. He has to work hard to spend money. Tomorrow, let's set a small goal. Try to spend 1 million. On the hard disk, there is a description of the host. Click to open. Host: Yu Liang. Race: human. Possessibility: full score 5 points. Sixth sense: permanent. Computer software: LV 0.9. Computer hardware: LV 0.4. Own items: dumpster, permanent. Number of lucky draws owned: 0 times. Oh, compared to yesterday, his ability has indeed improved. Suddenly, a bad premonition surged in Yu Liang's heart. He thought for a while and turned off the computer. Then he opened the door and walked out. As soon as he walked to the living room, the door to the parents' bedroom opened. Hui was a little surprised when she saw her son and said, "Xiao Liang, what are you doing?" "Mom, I'm going to wash up and go to sleep." Yu Liang smiled and said, "Where's Yu Yi?" "Hey, I managed to coax you to sleep." Hui sighed and said, "Xiao Liang, you need to go to bed early. I came out to tell you to sleep." Yu Liang nodded again and said, "Mom, I'll go to bed after washing up." He paused and said, "By the way, Mom, the new house we bought has already been delivered. Why don't we move there?" Hui rolled his eyes at him angrily and said, "That's a new house for you. After your kid gets married, you and your wife can go live by yourself." Yu Liang frowned slightly and said, "Mom, we live in an old house, the quality of which is not as good as a new house." Hui sighed and said, "Yi is still in kindergarten here. Besides, my parents live in this community. If we move there, they will be lonely." It was only then that Yu Liang came to a sudden realization and suddenly had an idea in his mind. Buying a house is the real big head of consumption. However, at the current price, it is estimated that we will have to wait a few days before we can buy the kind of desirable house. After a night of nothing, Yu Liang woke up the next day and went to the company as usual. Looking through the work log, Yu Liang found that today's work is a little more than yesterday. The most important thing is that the boss has a video conference to be held with the leaders of the European and American branches. He must go to the wiring and online in advance, and must ensure the smoothness of the entire meeting. Logically speaking, this is not the job of a full-time network security engineer. However, in a private enterprise, it is the basic requirement to have one specialty and many abilities. The entire company, just him, a security network engineer, encountered such a thing. If he doesn't go up, who will go up? Although there is a huge sum of more than 6 million in the bank card. But Yu Liang went to the small conference room calmly. Wiring or something, for him, is a familiar job, even with his eyes closed. In a quarter of an hour, he had done all this. Suddenly, the door of the conference room was pushed open. A fragrant wind blew in. "Brother Yu?" A slightly surprised voice sounded. Yu Liang turned his head and saw a pretty little face. It was a little girl in her early 20s, and she was quite beautiful. Although it has not yet reached the point where the country is overwhelmed, no matter who evaluates it, there is no problem in giving it a high score of 85 points. This is no beauty, no filter, no heavy makeup, almost 85 points of plain makeup. This little girl's name is He Ling Long. She is 21 years old. She majored in foreign trade. She came here for an internship in the second half of her senior year and was assigned to do odd jobs in the office. The little girl is not only good-looking, but also youthful and beautiful, which can be called a flower. However, this is not the main thing. This little girl also has a younger sister, twin sister Helena. However, Helena was not in the office, but went to the purchasing department. There are too many students majoring in foreign trade. After graduation, there will be a brick of GM where they need to go. Oh, and before graduation, it was the same. When I came here for an internship, there was only one person in the purchasing department and one in the office. So the two sisters broke up and went to different departments. Chapter 8, I have 80 billion, and I am very low-key. Logically speaking, this pair of sisters has nothing to do with Yu Liang. However, when He Ling Long was processing a document 2 days ago, he accidentally dropped the computer to the ground. As a result, the working hard drive is gloriously reimbursed. However, on the hard disk, there are extremely important files. So, He Ling Long turned to Yu Liang, who is a network security engineer. Although Yu Liang is not a dog licker, he still agreed to such a request from his colleagues in the company. Well, of course, in the face of such a beautiful girl's begging, normal people with ability will generally not refuse. Therefore, Yu Liang spent the whole night rescuing the files in the damaged hard disk, and repurchased a second-hand hard drive worth up to 30 yuan, installed the system, and restored it as much as possible. For him, it was just one night. However, for He Ling Long, it was a real help. Reaching out and waving his hand, Yu Liang smiled and said, "Xiao, are you here to take the meeting minutes?" "Well, yes." He Ling Long nodded vigorously, and then said, "Brother Yu, thank you. If it wasn't for you, I would have been scolded to death." Seeing that delicate and flowery face, Yu Liang's heart throbbed. In fact, Yu Liang is also a person with self-knowledge. He knew that although sister He Ling Long was a slim beauty, she was pretty. But just because they are so beautiful, such people are definitely not my kind. In fact, if the pair of sisters were of that kind of cheerful personality, he wouldn't mind putting in some effort to have a dewy relationship. However, after getting to know He Ling Long in the office for a few days, Yu Liang knew about it. At the very least, the elder sister among the sisters is a conservative type. Just because he wants money but doesn't have money, talent but no talent, and good looks, it's definitely not going to work. So I put away those petty thoughts and put her she is treated as an ordinary colleague. As long as 2 months pass, their internship period will end, and it is estimated that the two parties will never have the chance to meet again. But things seem to be different now. Shaking his head slightly, Yu Liang smiled and said, "It's okay, just a little busy, don't worry about it." He Ling Long folded her hands in front of her body and said in a low voice, "It's a small matter for you. But if I really don't handle it well, I'm afraid the internship review this time will be." Yu Liang waved his hand and said, "You think too much, the company will generally be lenient towards you interns. So, don't take this matter to heart." "Okay." He Ling Long was a little surprised. Isn't Yu Liang always taciturn? Why did he talk so much in one breath today? Moreover, after he said this, she felt much better in her heart. Strange. Yu Liang seems a little different today. However, the thought was fleeting. He Ling Long whispered, "Brother Yu, I told my sister about this, and she said, this weekend I want to treat you to dinner and thank you. Is that okay? Please eat." Yu Liang thought for a while and said, "Okay, I remember that there is a pickled fish in Zhongshan Square that is very good, so let's go there." He Ling Long immediately smiled. She nodded repeatedly and said, "Okay, don't forget then. The sisters are in the internship period, although they are also paid. But this salary, I am really embarrassed to say it. Even if they wanted to invite Yu Liang to a more expensive place, their sisters couldn't afford it. However, pickled fish, 3 people, add up to about 200 yuan, of course no problem. Although this import and export trading company is private. However, the boss has a lot of energy. It is said that it has a fairly strong background, so it has branches in America and Europe. The company's headquarters in the capital. And Yongcheng is just a branch. The reason for opening a branch in Yongcheng is because Yongcheng has a famous port in the Dragon Kingdom, and many goods have to enter the country through this port, and then flow to all parts of the country. Today's video conference was held by the bosses of the 3 branches and some senior executives. As for the legendary mysterious boss who never sees the end of the dragon, he still hasn't appeared. The things reported at the meeting are actually very simple, that is, the business of last month as well as various commonplace things and so on. Yu Liang, as a lineman, listened to the monthly meeting for more than 2 years, and his ears were calloused. In the past, I heard them talk about the transaction volume of tens of millions or even tens of millions of dollars every month. Always feel tall. For the general manager of the branch, he is even more admirable. However, today it sounds like tens of millions of dollars a month, killed in a year, is several hundred million. Hey, this small amount of money sounds like a complacent expression. The structure of these people is still too small. I have 80 billion US dollars in Bitcoin. It's not that he has a calm attitude and works silently in the company. At this moment, Yu Liang felt that he was too low-key. At 10:30 noon, the meeting ended on time. Chapter 9, The Sixth Sense, Picking Flies. Yu Liang was slightly startled and said with a smile, "Didn't you say that you invited me to dinner on the weekend? How did it become noon today?" He Ling Long curled her mouth and said, "Thank you for the weekend, and I happened to meet you at noon today, so it's just by the way." She paused and then said, "I had a work meal at noon, so I can't use this to thank you, can I?" Yu Liang laughed dumbfounded and said, "Okay, it's only noon. Let me treat you." He Ling Long smiled and said, "No need. I can still afford a work meal." After finishing speaking, she took the mobile phone, lost a few times, and said, "I told my sister, let's go together." Yu Liang's heart moved slightly. Even though he knew it, he just had an ordinary work meal with this pair of sisters. Does not involve any male-female relationships. But I don't know why, but my heart is still a little bit ready to move. After the 2 of them packed up, it was already 11:30. They took the elevator to the first floor. As soon as he came to the lobby, Yu Liang saw a beautiful face exactly like He Ling Long's. Sister He Lingna. It's just that, compared to He Ling Long who works in the office, Yu Liang and He Lingna don't have much interaction. If it wasn't for He Ling Long, this little beauty probably wouldn't even know her own name. "Sister, this is Yu Liang." Yu Liang waved his hand with a smile and said, "He Lingna, we've met before. The same company. If you don't look up and see you down, you must have seen it. However, as an intern, you certainly cannot name everyone in the company. Unlike this pair of sisters, Yu Liang has a great reputation in the company, so it's normal that He Lingna doesn't know her." Blushing slightly, He Lingna put her palms together and said, "Yu Liang, I'm sorry, there are too many people in the company. But don't worry, I will definitely remember you in the future." Yu Liang couldn't help laughing and said, "Okay, what do you want to eat today? I'll treat you." "Don't," He Ling Long said hastily. "We called you, of course I treat you. What do you want to eat?" Yu Liang suddenly realized that the 3 of them seemed to be the focus in the lobby. If you think about it, a girl with a score of 85 or above without makeup will have a lot of turning heads if she stands alone. So, what if 2 85-point girls who look exactly the same stand together? If it was in the past, even if someone looked furtively, Yu Liang might not be able to notice it. But now his sixth sense is too strong. As long as people pay a little attention to him, it's hard for him not to know. I don't want to continue to show off here. After all, it's downstairs from the company, so it's not very convenient. I don't care. What do you like? Hey, what I'm most afraid of is being casual and indifferent. He Ling Long frowned and said, the two of us don't have to eat anything. We can do anything. Yu Liang was about to continue to decline, but for some reason, a thought suddenly flashed into his mind. He almost blurted out, or, let's go eat Malatang. Yeah. He Lingna's eyes widened and she exclaimed, Yu Liang, how do you know that I want to eat Malatang? Yu Liang shrugged his shoulders and said, I just said it casually. He Lingna looked at him curiously. What a coincidence. Is this a tacit understanding? Ba. What am I thinking? The three left the company and went to a nearby Malatang restaurant. Working here has an invisible benefit. That is, when eating at noon, there are a lot of choices and there are many snack bars around. Although most of the surrounding areas are old communities, the city center still has the status and scale of the city center. There are at least 5 restaurants in Malatang alone. Sister He Ling Long brought Yu Liang to the nearest house. The 3 of them took their baskets and picked out what they wanted to eat. Malatang is not expensive, but the word cheap is definitely not the same. For a bowl of ramen, 12 to 15 yuan can be spent. But Malatang is a little careless, basically starting at 20. The 3 put the basket at the cash register, and He Ling Long took 2 bottles of juice, then looked at Yu Liang and said, Brother Yu, would you like a bottle of beer? Yu Liang shook his head and said, I still have to go to work in the afternoon. Let's have a bottle of Coke. He Ling Long took the initiative to pay and spent more than 70 yuan. Yu Liang noticed that the pair of sisters didn't eat much, and they were mostly vegetarian. The price of what I ordered was almost the sum of the 2 of them. However, Yu Liang did not compete with He Ling Long to pay. Arguing over such a small amount of money, I can't afford to lose that person. Soon Malatang was delivered. He Lingna smiled. She added spicy and vinegar, picked up the chopsticks, and was about to start. Yu Liang glanced at it inadvertently, and suddenly, a rather bad feeling came to his heart. Wait a minute. Yu Liang called out hastily. What's wrong? He Lingna asked suspiciously. Yu Liang thought for a while, picked up a new pair of chopsticks, then reached into the other party's bowl and started stirring. Sister He Ling Long's expression became extremely strange. What is this guy doing? How rude. However, in the next moment they saw it. Yu Liang actually picked a fly out of the bowl. It was a small fly, so dead that it couldn't be more dead. It was mixed in a group of food, and it was difficult to distinguish. Chapter 10 Yu Liang becomes Brother Yu. Wow! Helena turned her head away, her face contorted, and she couldn't help retching. As long as a normal person encounters this situation, he will feel disgusting. What's more, Helena is still a small and exquisite girl. When she thought that she was about to eat this thing, just now, she felt a surge in her stomach, and she almost vomited it out. He Ling Long widened her eyes and called out, Flies? Her voice was not low, and she immediately caught the eyes of guests from several tables nearby. He Lingna finally felt better, but if you look closely, you can see that there seems to be a trace of water swirling in her eye sockets. It's not sad, it's disgusting. It's too much. He Lingna stood up angrily. However, just when she was about to speak, Yu Liang grabbed her arm and said, Forget it, let's go. He Lingna was startled. Yu Liang didn't take advantage of the opportunity, but immediately let go after pulling. Then he stood up, picked up a white napkin, and put the flies on the chopsticks on it. Afterwards, he beckoned, turned, and left the Malatang. The 2 sisters He Ling Long looked at each other in dismay, but they glanced at the flies on the table. The tumbling feeling made them unable to stay here anymore. So, the 2 of them left together. Inside the store, a few nearby tables saw this scene, and then looked at the flies on the snow-white napkin. Look at the steaming hot and fragrant Malatang in front of you again. Immediately, they felt it was hard to swallow. After leaving Malatang, Helena caught up with Yu Liang in 2 or 3 steps and said angrily, Yu Liang, why are you leaving? You are so cowardly. Yu Liang stopped in his tracks and said with a smile, Did you just want to scold me to vent your anger? Yes. Helena nodded without hesitation. Then, what do you do after you're done scolding? They accompany you with a bowl of malatang. Can you still eat it? Helena's face was a little distorted, and that disgusting feeling surged up again. She said angrily, "How is it possible? I will never come to this store again." Yu Liang smiled and said, "That's it anyway. You won't go to this store again in the future. So what if you scold it? Can it really relieve your anger? In the end, it's not just embarrassing yourself." Helena opened her small cherry mouth, looking very cute. She felt that this sentence sounded reasonable, but it seemed that she was not very reconciled. Remember, in this world, happiness is the most important thing. Moreover, our time is precious, so it's best not to waste it on arguing with those vulgar people. The sisters He Ling Long looked at each other. Inexplicably, they suddenly realized that they looked at Yu Liang differently. Yu Liang smiled and said, "I encountered a very unhappy thing at noon today, so let's be happy." He Ling Long blinked her big eyes and asked, "Brother Yu, what are you happy about? I'll treat you to a big meal." Yu Liang waved his hand and said, "Come with me." The three of them turned a corner and came to the door of a Western restaurant. Yu Liang pushed the door open, led the two sisters into the restaurant, and sat down at the booth. "Brother Yu, it's very expensive here?" He Ling Long's expression was a little weird, and she said cautiously, "This is the case in the city center where there are small mom-and-pop shops with affordable prices, but maybe 2 steps away, it is this kind of big shop with a per capita consumption of at least 200 plus. If it was before, even if Yu Liang was a treat, he would not bring girls here. But now, any problem that can be solved with money is not a problem. It's okay, you have invited me to eat too. Don't talk about that." Helena quickly waved her hand and said, "I don't want to eat that again." Yu Liang couldn't help but laugh, took the menu, ordered the dishes, and placed the order. His movements are very skillful because he has been here several times with the head of the department. "Brother Yu, don't we have enough time to eat?" He Ling Long asked hesitantly. Yu Liang said with a smile, "You don't know about our company. We didn't clock in at noon. They said it was half an hour, but as long as we go back within an hour, it's fine." The two sisters looked at each other and felt relieved. This is the difference between veteran employees and interns, and their mentality is completely different. When the steak came, the three of them couldn't help but eat it. Halfway through the meal, Yu Liang made an excuse to go to the toilet and bought the bill. After all, it was just a lunch at noon, so they finished quickly and returned to the company. On the way, Yu Liang suddenly saw a door sign. Haishu District Red Cross Society. He moved slightly in his heart and said, "Go back first, I suddenly remembered something, and I have to deal with it." "Okay, see you, Brother Yu." He Ling Long waved his hand. He Lingna hesitated for a moment before saying, "Brother Yu, goodbye." After one meal, Yu Liang changed to Brother Yu. "Worth it." The two sisters returned to the company. He Lingna said secretly, "Sister, do you know how much this meal cost?" "How many?" "I just checked. 889. "Wow, so many?" He Ling Long was dumbfounded, and she tried hard to remember. "But in a daze, I couldn't figure out what kind of precious things the three of us ate that cost so much money." "Black shop. This is definitely a black shop. Too dark." "Sister, is this Yu Liang a rich second generation?" "It should know, but I think he looks very casual." He Lingna said suddenly, "Sister, go and find out." "What?" "If he is really a rich second generation, sister, you are responsible for catching him. Then there will be a long-term meal ticket from now on." He Lingna said with a smile, "At that time, if you leak a little from your hands, it will be enough for me to eat." "You damn girl, see if I don't tear your mouth apart." Chapter 11. 1 million? No? 1.8 million. Yu Liang said goodbye to the sisters and first sent a message to Chen Tao, the company's vice president and network director. "Master, I have something to go to the bank to do some formalities, and I'll be right back." "Okay, go and come back quickly." Having received the imperial edict, Yu Liang cheerfully put down his phone. Network security engineer, this position is important. It is quite important. The company's network security is all under the control of engineers. If it is a negligence and the company's secrets are leaked, then the loss will definitely not be a small amount of money. Therefore, the bigger the company, the more attention it pays to this aspect. In this position, if it is not important, is really not very important. At the very least, most of the time, The main task of the company's network security engineers is to deal with video links and network problems during leadership meetings. They don't even need to worry about the production of PPT. Just do it step by step. So, as long as Yu Liang asks for leave, he can hang around outside. Of course, it is okay to ask for leave occasionally, but if it happens every day, it is not advisable. Yu Liang first walked into the Red Cross Society of Haishu District. This association is on the third floor of the building, and the layout is not luxurious, but simple 4 or 5 rooms. There are several desks in each room. It looks rather shabby. Of course, Yu Liang knew that there was a lot of negative content about the Red Cross on the internet a few years ago. However, for an ordinary person like him, if you want to donate, there is really no good channel. Dragon Country is not a developed country. In the Dragon Country, there are certainly many rich and powerful people who are as rich as an enemy country. But there are many more poor people, and donations can have a certain effect on solving the living conditions of vulnerable groups. In Manhwa, there are a very large number of people in need of assistance. Every year, tens of millions of people need assistance, including tens of millions of urban, extremely poor people who need to participate in the subsistence allowance. In addition, there are tens of millions of people living in absolute poverty in rural areas, as well as the disabled and the elderly over 60 years old who have lost the ability to work. They all need various forms of assistance. Therefore, Yu Liang thought very clearly, if he can help one person, that is one person. Even knowing that the Red Cross has a lot of tricks, as long as 1/10 of the money donated is actually realized. It's also much better than not donating at all. Gently knocked on the door of an office. In this office, several people were sitting at their workstations, not knowing whether they were working or flashing their phones. Hearing the knock on the door, a woman in her 30s stood up and said with a smile, "Sir, what's the matter?" Yu Liang said in a deep voice, "This is the Red Cross. I'm here to donate." A gratified smile appeared on the woman's face, and she said, "Okay, please sit down, sir." After welcoming Yu Liang to one of the seats, the woman took out a form and asked, "What's your surname, sir?" "Yu, the son of Yugue." "So Yu." "Oh, Mr. Yu. What are your requirements for donations?" "Donation. Is there any request?" "Yes. Some people's donations will be used for designated purposes. For example, your donation will be used to treat a certain disease, or your donation will reach the account of the disaster area, and the funds will be used for resettlement of the victims and to help them rebuild homes, etc." Yu Liang suddenly felt dizzy and said, "I understand, but I didn't specify the purpose. It's just an ordinary donation." "Okay, Mr. Yu, please fill in your information." Yu Liang took a form, glanced at it, frowned slightly, and said, "I want to donate anonymously." "Anonymous? Yeah, why not?" "Oh, no, of course." The woman took the form and filled in the word anonymous on the name. Then, operate below for a while. Yu Liang was curious, since they are already anonymous. What else do you write? Looking down, he couldn't help laughing. It turns out that other races and positions have been marked, which should mean unknown. After processing the form, the woman raised her head, still with a professional smile on her face. "Excuse me, Mr. Yu. How much do you plan to donate?" Before Yu Liang came, he had already thought about it. At this time, he said without hesitation, 1 million. Ah. The smile on the woman's face froze, she stuttered, and lost her voice for a moment. At this time, there were 3 other staff members in the room. After hearing these words, his eyes widened with disbelief. To be honest, donating 1 million is definitely not the biggest amount. However, a person came over at the scene and told them that they would donate 1 million anonymously. This kind of thing is definitely the first time a big girl encounters it when she gets on the sedan chair. Yu Liang suddenly felt certain and said, "Oh no, I didn't donate 1 million. The woman's face changed again. The corners of her mouth twitched twice, but she managed to maintain a smile and said, "Okay, you plan to donate 1.8 million. Woman. Colleague. What the hell? Is this here to tease us?" Chapter 12E had a quarrel. Walk out of the Red Cross. Yu Liang looked at the receipt in his hand. It clearly says 1.8 million. Looking at this receipt, Yu Liang was also quite emotional. Before he got the magic hard drive, he never imagined that he would have the day to donate more than 1 million yuan. Since when Money seems to have become unimportant in his eyes. No wonder a certain horse always said that he never talked about money. And another Mr. Wong said, first earn a small goal. It turns out that when the money reaches a certain level, the mentality will really change. The reason why Yu Liang went to donate today is not only to contribute a piece of love, but the most important thing is to see if donation is also a kind of consumption. The reason why I finally chose 1.8 million is to make up a whole number. Yesterday's loan repayment was 1.2 million, plus today's 1.80 million. The total is 3 million. If what I expected is not bad, then I can go back tonight and draw a lottery twice. Beautiful. Turning around, Yu Liang walked towards the industrial and commercial bank not far away. Do you know how many banks there are in Manhwa? Yu Liang doesn't know exactly how many there are, but he knows roughly that there are more than 4,000. Among them, there is 1 development finance bank, 2 policy banks, 6 large state-owned commercial banks, and 12 joint stock commercial banks. As for the others, they are city commercial banks, housing savings banks, private banks, rural commercial banks, village banks, rural cooperative banks, rural credit cooperatives, rural commercial banks, and foreign-funded corporate banks. Among them, the State-Owned Development Bank, the Export-Import Bank of China, and the Agricultural Development Bank of China are policy banks that are not-for-profit. They are mainly to cooperate with the government's social and economic policies or intentions, usually directly or indirectly. Invest in some projects with large investment and slow capital recovery. Everyone is familiar with state-owned banks because they often deal with them. The 6 state-owned banks mainly include Industrial and Commercial Bank of China, Agricultural Bank of China, China Construction Bank, Bank of Communications, China Post Bank, and Bank of China. The Bank of China is different from the People's Bank of China. Among the 6 state-owned banks, ICBC is the strongest and ranks first in the world. The above 10 banks can be regarded as real state-owned banks. Although Yu Liang has 3 first-level savings cards from different banks, none of them belong to the 6 major state-owned banks. And what he has to do now is to go to all 6 banks. In the city center, the traffic must be congested, and the population density must be huge. However, there are also many advantages that the urban-rural fringe area cannot match. For example, in this area, Yu Liang easily found the branches of the 6 major state-owned banks. Bring your ID card, as long as you go in person. Then if you want to apply for a savings card in the bank, it is a breeze. People will not ask you why you need to apply for this card. They only hope that the more people who apply for the card, the better. In one afternoon, Yu Liang ran to 6 banks. The establishment of diplomatic relations between workers and peasants in China Post, not one of them. Although Yu Liang also knew that what he did was a bit deceitful, but it was better than putting all the money into the same bank card. At 3:30, Yu Liang returned to the company smoothly. I turned around in the company, but no one came to him. Also, things like network security can happen at any time. What he does the most in the company is to help the leader connect or help colleagues repair computers. And many colleagues' laptops are broken, and they won't ask him to fix them, because in their private notebooks, there are often some indescribable video files. This stuff is quite personal. It's not for ordinary people to see. At 5 o'clock, many people are still working overtime in the company. But Yu Liang patted his ass and left. He didn't go home directly, but entered the community and came to Grandpa's house. Kindergarten can pick up children at 4 o'clock. And Grandpa and Grandma brought Yui back long ago. Yu Liang has just entered Grandpa's house. Yui stepped on her short legs and ran over hi. Yu Liang picked up the little guy, smoky her face, and said, are you good at school? To be honest, when Yui was just born, Yu Liang didn't like her. But, up to now, Yu Liang has hurt her to the bone. Hey, a great guy of 25 years old. To be forced to feel like a father. This is no one else. However, after hearing Yu Liang's words, Yui did not boast about herself as before. Instead, his complexion collapsed, and his big eyes slowly became moist. Yu Liang was startled and said, what's going on? Tell the big brother? Yui pouted, but didn't speak. Grandpa Shirtianfeng came over and sighed. Xiao Liang, had a fight with someone in the kindergarten today. Oh, what's going on? They have outdoor activities in their class. E and a child both want to play on the slide, but there is only one slide in the kindergarten, and neither of them will let it go, so Chapter 13 expired and obsolete. Although Shi Tianfeng is not young, he is 71 years old this year. However, he is a hale and hearty old man, and he is always strong, and he explained the matter clearly in a few words. Although the Yu family is a local aborigine, but they are not big families. To say that they are well off is already a great deal of face. Therefore, Yu Ishan's kindergarten is not a senior kindergarten like the city's #1 kindergarten or #2 kindergarten. Although they are not far from the first and second kindergartens. But want to get in there? Well, when I first signed up, people said it. Anyone who wants to enter these kindergartens can sign up. But because there were too many applicants, lots were drawn. As for the lottery process, anyway, someone must be supervising, but who is supervising? No one can tell why. As a result, as expected, in the old community, no family's children were drawn. Rumor has it that children who lived far away, but had someone in a high-ranking family, were still easy draws. Today, Yui is studying in a private kindergarten. The fees for this kindergarten are more than 3 times that of public kindergartens. This is not counting the cost of musical instrument lessons and drawing lessons. But even so, the hardware equipment and software, teacher qualifications, of this private kindergarten cannot be compared with the municipal kindergarten, because it is said that there is a huge difference in the benefits of the 2 classrooms. If you count the invisible benefits, it is hard to say 3 times, and it must be more than twice. As for the hardware, for example, children's outdoor play equipment. Although every kindergarten has similar ones, how many are there in the venue? There is a huge difference in what equipment is there, whether it is good or bad, new or old, and so on. Although the kindergarten Yui attended was not the worst, it was just average. Because there are too few outdoor entertainment items, it is easy for children to have disputes when they are rushing to play. The teacher saw that most of them would play 50 boards each, impartial. However, the minds of the children are different. They just feel wronged. Yu Liang inquired about his grandfather, and learned that the head teacher did not protect either party, but taught the 2 children to be friendly and humble to each other. But in the end result, the 2 children are still not able to play, because by the time they are educated, outdoor activities are over. That's why Yu Yi pouted, with an expression of aggrieved heaven. Yu Liang rubbed Yu Yi's head with a smile, and said, don't be sad. Next week the big brother will take you to the zoo. Have fun. Really? Yu Yi's eyes lit up immediately. Of course it's true. Yu Liang patted his chest and assured, don't worry, I won't be like my father, procrastinating on what I promised. This Saturday, I have something to do, and on that Sunday, I will take care you go. Not this Sunday. Grandpa interjected with a smile. Why? You forgot. Your class will be rehearsing for the past few weeks, and you will be on stage during the June 1st performance. Yui frowned and said, Gao Gao, let's go after June 1st, okay? Okay. Our has the final say. Children are like this. When they are upset, they can cry quickly. However, if you coax him, you can smile happily. Yui quickly put the unhappy things behind her and started asking about something good to eat tonight. After dinner at Grandpa's house, Yu Liang's family went back. Naturally, Hui took care of her daughter. As for her son, he's such an old man and doesn't even have a girlfriend, so it's annoying to watch. If it wasn't his own, he would have kicked him out of the house long ago. Yu Liang returned to the room, turned on the computer, and clicked on the magic hard drive. The host spends 1 million today and can draw a lottery once. Do you want to draw a lottery? Whether? Yu Liang's eyes lit up. Sure enough, even donations are a form of consumption, and the system recognizes them. However, my own consumption is not 1 million, but 1.8 million. Plus the extra 200,000 spent yesterday. Isn't it 2 million? It was as if he had sensed Yu Liang's inner voice. Then, a paragraph suddenly popped up on the computer again. The lottery statistics are a daily activity, and the consumption quota of the next day is invalid. After Yu Liang saw it, a mouthful of old blood almost spewed out. What the hell are you telling me now? Hey, in this world, cash is king. Only the benefits you get are the real benefits. If I had known earlier, I would directly donate 2 million today. It's a pity to lose one chance to draw a lottery just for a mere 200,000. Yu Liang took a deep breath and clicked yes. The next moment, the roulette spun rapidly. After another 20 seconds, the roulette slowly stopped. However, just when Yu Liang saw clearly what was displayed on the roulette at this moment, his eyes suddenly widened. Taking a deep breath, Yu Liang rubbed his eyes vigorously. He opened his eyes wide again and stared. Then, he couldn't hold back the fragrance anymore. Leo Sunzi dialect meaningless. It's fake. Chapter 14, A Single Portable Space. The pointer of the big roulette stayed on top of the item category, and what the needle pointed it turned out to be portable space. Congratulations to the host. You have won the portable space, single time. Do you want to use it? Item class. Portable space. God, I originally thought it was a Shinhao game, but I didn't expect that the magical hard drive did not disappoint me, and even created a fairy-like portable space. What is portable space? This word needs no explanation at all, not to mention those who are used to reading online articles. Even an ordinary person can guess the meaning of this word after a little thought. Yu Liang moved the mouse and slowly moved over the word portable space. Then, he saw the above explanation as expected, and it's not much different from what he thought. Portable space, single after binding, a mysterious space attached to the host. Space size, 100 meters in length, width and height, capable of storing any inanimate items. Note: single means store once, take out once, store once, take out once. Once taken, the portable space disappears automatically. Does the host use the portable space? Whether. Yu Liang hesitated for a moment, then murmured, "If I don't use it today, will it also be expired?" He asked in the hope of just in case. But the next moment, a line of words jumped out on the screen. When the daily lottery draw is counted, all consumption quotas that do not meet the standard will be invalidated. However, the number of lottery draws and the rewards after the lottery draw will all be retained. Yu Liang breathed a sigh of relief and clicked no without hesitation. This was the first time he clicked the option no after the multiple choice question appeared. What the hell? Why is this reward today single instead of permanent? At this moment, Yu Liang was quite annoyed in his heart. If it was the first time yesterday that he spent 1,000,000 special upgrade rewards, it would be fine if he didn't use them, although the 6 cents is also a good thing if compared with this portable space. Anyway, compared to the two, Yu Liang would rather choose the portable space of the permanent card. Upgrade. This item must be upgraded no matter what. But how do you upgrade? Yu Liang's thoughts diverged, and he thought of the reminder from yesterday. Given that host consumption reaches 1 million for the first time, it is possible to upgrade a certain skill or item single to permanent. Oh, can the skill or item be upgraded from single to permanent when the consumption reaches 1 million for the first time? If it is like this, so what happens when consumption reaches 10 million or 100 million for the first time? Although the magic hard disk didn't give him any explanation in this regard, Yu Liang had vaguely guessed the truth. Well, it's a magical feeling from his 6th sense. So, the first thing he has to do now is to spend 10 million. This is very simple. In this world, making money is like picking dirt with a needle, and spending money is like washing sand with water. It is even more difficult for ordinary people to earn 10 million yuan. But, want to spend 10 million? Although the housing prices in Yongqing cannot be compared with the 4 super first-tier cities. However, if you want to buy a real luxury house, 10 million is far from enough. Moreover, the procedures for buying a luxury house are quite cumbersome, and you have to take a closer look. Obviously, it can't be settled in a day. So, Yu Liang thought about it for a while, and suddenly he thought about it. However, all this will be dealt with tomorrow. Now, the most important thing is to convert Bitcoin into cash and exchange it out. Fang Jian went to major banks today, and Fang Jian applied for a total of 6 cards. The reason why these 6 major banks were chosen is because they are state-owned banks. In the minds of Longwa people, state-owned banks are the most reliable, at least much more reliable than local banks or commercial banks. Yu Liang turned on the computer and started today's operation. First, he selected 6 different Bitcoin trading platforms. The Bitcoin trading platform is actually a digital currency trading platform. Such a platform has been banned in China. However, in the whole world, there are countless such platforms, large and small. Among them, there are at least 20 famous ones. The daily turnover on each platform is calculated in units of hundreds of millions, billions, or even tens of billions. Moreover, the suffix of this unit is still US dollars. Of course, it's not just Bitcoin that is traded on these platforms. Virtual currencies include ZN, REN, Sushi, DYDX, ETH, BTC, SHIB, Doge, etc. Among them, the well-known ones include SHIB, Doge, ETH, BTC, etc. Here, BTC is what we know as Bitcoin. In terms of value, Bitcoin is undoubtedly the largest. But other currencies should not be underestimated. What Yuliang is looking for are large digital currency platforms. These platforms have a good reputation and a large plate. 30 to 50 Bitcoins will be invested in them, which will not attract attention. Moreover, all of these platforms have RMB exchange services. This time, Yuliang activated a total of 9 platforms. How many Bitcoins are sold on each platform? Once he feels something is wrong, no matter how few Bitcoins he sells, he will stop immediately. But even so, the total number of Bitcoins sold overnight reached 140. Check out the major bank accounts. Even after deducting the handling fee, it reached 19 million renminbi. Plus yesterday's income, it's well over 20 million. Hey, it's only the 3rd day. He's already a multimillionaire. Yuliang suddenly discovered his attitude towards money. It seems to be more and more indifferent and calm. Chapter 15: Financing does not equal consumption. The next morning, after Yuliang got up, he went to the bathroom to wash up. Then he saw the weird eyes of his parents. If it was before, Yuliang would definitely not be able to notice it. But now he has a strong sixth sense, and he can keenly detect anything that is a little bit wrong. After all, the sixth sense is really sensitive and unreasonable. Even his own parents are within the perception range of the sixth sense. "Dad, Mom, what's the matter with you?" Yuliang asked curiously. It's a pity that the sixth sense can only vaguely detect something is wrong and can avoid evil. But it doesn't have functions like mind reading, otherwise he wouldn't have to ask. Sure, picked up the bowl, added the cooked porridge, pushed it in front of him, and said, "Xiaoliang, what's the matter with you today? Why did you get up so early?" Yuliang was taken aback, and the smile on his face became a bit resentful. He is 25 years old, but he has a habit of sleeping in. "I usually refuse to get up before it is time to go to work. If it is Saturday or Sunday, I will fall asleep even more, and sometimes I don't even want to eat breakfast." Yu Hai and Shi Hui had argued over this many times, and they both said that Yuliang's habit was definitely not up to them. Today, however, Yuliang got up before 7 o'clock, which simply subverted the perception of the couple. Taking a quick sip of porridge, Yuliang said, "Mom, I have something to do at work today, so I want to be early." After cleaning up the porridge, Yuliang said vaguely, "By the way, don't you want to send Yi to the kindergarten?" "I'll just go today, drop by," Shi Hui said angrily. "You talk to Grandpa yourself." "Okay." Yuliang took out the phone and called Grandpa directly. If it was Yu Hai or Shi Hui who made the call, Shi Tian phone would definitely be unhappy. "I pick up my granddaughter. You two still want to deprive this remaining fun? Really unfilial daughter and son-in-law." However, when the grandson said so, Shi Tian phone nodded with a smile on his face and boasted that his good grandson has grown up and knows how to share things with his family. Yu Liang drove hands-free, so both Yu Hai and Shi Hui could hear clearly. The couple looked at each other, and both secretly cursed in their hearts. The old man is too partial. This intergenerational relative is too close. After eating, Yu Liang hugged Yu Yi and said, "Yi, Gao Gao will take you to kindergarten today, okay?" "Okay." Yu Yi's voice was clean and crisp, very nice. Although there is a 20-year age difference between the two, the siblings are very close. Kindergarten entry time starts at 7:30. But in fact, at 7 o'clock, parents have already sent their children one after another. At this time, the teacher on duty will take the children who came early to play in the lobby, and wait until the teachers of each class arrive at school at 7:20 before leading the children in their own class back to the team. Moreover, the principal of this kindergarten is extremely responsible, and she will come to the kindergarten early every morning before 7 o'clock. When Yu Liang came to the kindergarten with the child in his arms, the first time he saw the teacher on duty, he couldn't help laughing. What a coincidence! The person on duty today turned out to be Teacher Lu Han, the head teacher of Class 2. And beside Teacher Lu is the principal Li Chunmei. "Hello, Teacher Lu." "Good morning, teacher," Yu Yi said milkily. "Hey, Yi, good morning." Lu Han replied with a smile, and then let Yi play in the lobby. She was also quite strange in her heart. Yu Yi's child is usually sent by his grandfather, and it is usually around 8 o'clock. But today it was only 7:15, and it was delivered. Yu Liang put his younger sister in the play area, walked up to Li Chunmei, and said with a smile, "Principal Li, hello." Hello? Li Chunmei had a professional smile on her face. "Principal Li, I have something I want to tell you. Is that okay?" "Sure." Although Li Chunmei was puzzled, she still brought Yu Liang to the principal's office with a smile on her face. Lu Han looked at Yu Liang in surprise and murmured in his heart, "Could it be that Yu Yi's parents came to sue?" However, thinking about what happened yesterday, she can definitely say that she has no regrets in her heart. However, working in kindergarten for so many years, she has seen many wonderful parents. Shaking her head slightly, she just hoped that she wouldn't encounter that kind of weird stuff. In the principal's office, Yu Liang said straight to the point, "Principal Li, I just saw the facilities in the kindergarten and found that they are a bit outdated. I wonder if Principal Li plans to renovate or build new amusement facilities." Li Chunmei was a little dazed. What is this nonsense? Could it be that this kid is a contractor and wants to pull a project here? She smiled wryly and said, "Parents, our kindergarten is a private kindergarten. Although there will be a little funding from above every year, it's really not much. The tuition fees collected can maintain the status quo. It's already very good to repair it, where there is money to renovate and build new ones." Yu Liang nodded slightly and said, "Then the kindergarten accepts parents' integration." He stopped suddenly because a strong thought came to his mind. The sixth sense told him, financing is not equal to consumption. Therefore, no financing is possible. So he changed the subject and said, "Are you accepting donations from your parents?" Chapter 16, 10 million arrives. Private donation? Li Chunmei was stunned for a moment, and then said hastily, "For the better development of the children, of course we accept donations." After a pause, she continued, "However, it is not a small sum to renovate the kindergarten." Yu Liang smiled and said, "How much do you need?" Li Chunmei hesitated for a moment, then said, the renovation method with more money, and the renovation method with less money and less money. I don't know which one you are referring to, Mr. Yu." At this time, Yu Liang has been promoted from Yu Yi's parent to Mr. Yu. Yu Liang frowned slightly and said, "Please explain in detail." As the principal of the kindergarten, Li Chunmei is very patient when dealing with parents of students. But at this moment, she was far more patient than usual. "It's like this. Our kindergarten hasn't been overhauled for a long time. The most urgent thing to improve now is the outer wall. You can see that the outer wall has peeled off in many places, which affects the appearance. We plan to focus on repainting the exterior walls and doing some decorations after 2 months of summer vacation. Now, there is still a funding gap of 100,000 yuan in this regard." 100,000 yuan? Yu Liang looked at Li Chunmei silently. The principal's structure was too small. Seeing Yu Liang's silence, Li Chunmei quickly said, "Of course, I'm not saying that you must donate 100,000. No matter how much you donate, it will help us solve practical problems." Yu Liang waved his hand and said proudly, "Principal Li, if we renovate the entire campus during the summer vacation and build a few more children's play facilities on the playground, it will probably be enough." I'm sorry, what did you say?" Li Chunmei asked in disbelief. "I said, renovate everything so that the kindergarten can look brand new." Li Chunmei was dumbfounded, although she was considered a leader. But after all, he is just the principal of a small kindergarten, even if he usually receives some parents who want to donate. However, it is already quite good to be able to come up with 180,000. Such a generous, that is simply unimaginable. With a wry smile, Lee Chunmei said, Mr. Yu, to be honest, what you said requires careful planning and calculation. I really can't answer you right now. Yu Liang nodded slightly. Principal Lee was telling the truth. If she utters a number in one breath, there is a high probability that she is fooling people. Such an attitude made Yu Liang appreciate it. Principal Lee, how about this? Ask someone to calculate and see how much it will cost. Lee Chunmei nodded dumbly, but she immediately said, Mr. Yu, the total renovation you mentioned is not a small sum. I'm afraid it will cost at least 3 or 5 million. Yu Liang said with a smile. Now labor is much more expensive than before, and decoration materials are not cheap. There are so many projects, and 3 to 5 million yuan is not much. He knows nothing about his investment in engineering projects. But today he came here to spend money. Of course we have to go big. Hearing Yu Liang's arrogant tone, Lee Chunmei also gasped, her eyes unavoidably suspicious. Seeing that Yu Liang is not very old, he is not bragging. After all, the world is too big. Even if there is an extra boastful parent by chance, it doesn't seem to be a rare thing. Yu Liang looked up at her, and his sixth sense told him that the old woman in front of him was a little suspicious. With a slight curl of his lips, Yu Liang said, Principal Lee, give me the company account of the kindergarten. You want to? I'll put in the donated money to save you from being suspicious. Although Lee Chunmei is old and refined, she still blushed after hearing this sentence. But she still sent the company account number over without hesitation. What are you afraid of losing face? As long as she got the money, she would be willing to lose face again. When Yu Liang applied for the card yesterday, even large value transfers were activated at the same time. At this time, he operated on the mobile phone for a while and transferred for million, 3 million, and 3 million respectively from the 3 banks with the most money. Add up, there is a full 10 million yuan. Ding, ding, ding. As the principal and legal person of the kindergarten, Lee Chunmei's mobile phone is naturally bound to the school account. She saw with her own eyes that there were relevant reminders in the account. Then, she raised her head little by little and looked at Yu Liang in disbelief. Previously, Yu Liang's tone was so loud that Lee Chunmei thought that she had met a big client. However, even if her head was chopped off, she still couldn't imagine it. The young man in front of him donated so much money to the kindergarten in one go. 10 million. It's not 1,000, and it's not 10,000, but a full 10 million. There are quite a lot of kindergarten students, big, middle, and small kindergartens with a total of 5 grades. Their fees are 3 times more expensive than those of so-called public kindergartens. However, even if all the income is added up, can it be 10 million a year? Well, it is absolutely impossible to rely on tuition fees alone, unless it is possible to add various cram schools and the 3 melons and 2 dates allocated from the finances. But this time it was a private donation, a personal, private donation. At this moment, Yu Liang suddenly became taller in her eyes, the kind that is higher than Tianqi, as tall as the Monkey King. Chapter 17, So Low-Key. You, Mr. Yu, you don't need so many. After a long while, Lee Chunmei finally came to her senses, and she quickly explained. Even if it is completely refurbished, 5 million is the top. It really doesn't need that much. This is renovating a house, not building a house. And even if it's building a house, it won't work. Don't look at the ridiculously expensive housing prices now. However, who actually earned the real big head? All kinds of media have already publicized the mystery of it to the public, and those steel and concrete labors are all small money. Therefore, even if the kindergarten is completely refurbished, it is absolutely impossible to use so much. Yu Liang smiled slightly and said, Dean Lee, I donated money, but there are still a few requests. Please agree. You say? First, I don't want too many people to know about this matter. At the very least, I can't disclose it to the media. I don't want to hear any gossip except for you. And a few teachers involved. Relevant teachers? Lee Chunmei immediately grasped the essence of this sentence. She quickly said, Mr. Yu, don't worry. I will communicate with teacher Lu Han, and I will also tell the tutor of Yi's class and the manager of Ant. After a pause, she continued, "Of course, there are a few others, and I will notify them, but I promise they will not talk nonsense." After hesitating for a while, she said again, "In addition, I will add a tutor and an aunt to E's class. In each class of kindergarten, besides the head teacher, there are two helpers. They are the tutor and the management aunt, respectively. In other words, there are 3 adults in each class. So, what is the newly added tutor and management aunt in E's class for?" Although Lee Chun-mei didn't explain this point, both of them knew it well. "Anyway, from now on, E is in this class. No, it should be said that in the whole school, they will be treated differently." Coughing lightly, Yu Liang said, "Principal Lee, I don't want E to develop an arrogant and domineering personality, so..." Lee Chun-mei hurriedly said, "Mr. Yu, don't worry. Our education advocates the equality of all, and we will never intentionally classify children into different classes." Yu Liang nodded slightly. "It's one thing to say, but after the money arrives, can teachers who know the inside story really treat you like an ordinary child? Open the door of convenience. That is 100%. By the way, my parents and family members don't know about this matter, and I hope you can keep it secret." Lee Chun-mei's eyes widened. She hesitated for a moment, then nodded heavily, and said, "Okay." At this moment, she was extremely shocked. It turned out that the money was his own, not his family's. Yu Liang stood up and said, "If there is more money, let's improve the food for the children in the whole kindergarten and give the teachers some benefits." "This is still too much," Lee Chun-mei said with a wry smile. Yu Liang said meaningfully, "It doesn't matter. If E is satisfied, I will donate another some next year. Now E is in the small class. If there is no accident, there are still 2 years left in the kindergarten. Therefore, Yu Liang can donate again next year." Lee Chun-mei nodded repeatedly and sent Yu Liang out of the kindergarten in person. Then she saw it. At the entrance of the kindergarten, Yu Liang took out his mobile phone, scanned the QR code for a self-service battery car, and drove the battery car squeaky away. Lee Chun-mei couldn't help but be tongue-tied. "I just feel a little dizzy in my head. Self-service battery car?" The person who donated 10 million in one go without any hesitation actually drove away on a self-service battery car instead of a luxury car? Could it be that I haven't woken up yet? She lowered her head and looked at the company account on her phone. The 10 million quietly lay on the account. Only then did she breathe a sigh of relief, as long as the money was real. When looking at Yu Liang's back again, Lee Chun-mei felt deep admiration. This is the real rich man. It's so low-key, which is admirable, but also deeply terrifying. "School Lee, good morning." Lee Chun-mei just woke up like a dream and responded to the parents' greetings with a smile. Then, she came to Lu Han's side and whispered, "Teacher Lu Han, School Lee, you eat from your class. How does he usually behave?" She is very obedient, a very quiet little girl." "Well, you should pay more attention to her in the future," Lee Chun-mei said slowly. "Tomorrow, I will assign a tutor and a management aunt to your class." Lu Han suddenly became happy. The management of children may seem simple, but in fact there are many things. There are 3 people in a class. If there is a teacher to ask for advice, then it may not be too busy. But if 2 more people are added, the situation will be completely different. However, Lee Chun-mei said again, the main task of these 2 new teachers is one, and that is to concentrate on taking good care of Yu and make her extremely satisfied with the kindergarten. What? Also, starting from this month, the bonuses of your class teacher and aunt will be doubled. What? Lu Han couldn't help but glanced in the direction Yu Liang left. If the director isn't crazy, it's because of Yu Liang. I really don't know what drug that kid gave the dean to make the dean so generous. Chapter 18, Company Team Building. When Yu Liang came to the company, it was only 8:15, and there was still some time before the card swiping at 9 o'clock. Arriving at his workstation, Yu Liang opened the work log. Take a glance. Oh, today is the weekly system self-test. Putting it on people who don't understand it will feel like a mouse pulls a turtle. There is no way to start. However, Yu Liang is used to it. It's just that it takes a long time, and it's not a big problem. Seeing that everything was fine now, Yu Liang turned on the computer and started to run the software. Not long after, the door of the office was pushed open. Yu Liang glanced at him, and his pupils involuntarily lit up slightly. The person who came in was Ling Long. He smiled and waved at him, saying, "Xiao, it's so early." The little girl hesitated obviously, and then said, "Brother Yu, you were so early today." Yu Liang glanced behind her and said with a smile, "Why, your sister hasn't come yet." The little girl rolled her eyes and said, "Brother Yu, I'm here." Yu Liang was startled and said in surprise, "Ah, are you He Lingna?" "That's right." He Lingna gritted her teeth and said, dissatisfied, "Brother Yu, you can even make mistakes about our sisters." This time, it was Yu Liang's turn to roll his eyes. "What the hell? You twins look exactly alike. How can I tell them apart?" The door opened again, and with a smile on his face, He Ling Long walked in with 2 small plastic bags. She first gave one of them to her younger sister before seeing Yu Liang. "Ah, Brother Yu, why are you here?" Yu Liang turned around, clicked on the computer, and said, "Today is the monthly system self-inspection day. I came here early to complete the task." "Oh." He Ling Long came to a sudden realization and said, "No wonder. I said, Brother Yu, you order it every day. If you came so early today, something must be up." Yu Liang stammered, thinking to himself, "Little girl, can you speak? If you don't speak, no one will think you are dumb. Are you calling me lazy in disguise? Hey, after all, there are still 2 college students who have not graduated. I haven't fully experienced the beatings of the society, so I can't hold back my words." Of course, Yu Liang doesn't care about them. "Brother Yu, have you had breakfast?" He Ling Long held up the plastic bag in his hand and said, "I have rice balls and soy milk here. How about I bring you some?" Yu Liang waved his hand and said, "I've eaten at home." He Ling Long nodded and said, "Brother Yu, have you signed up for the company team building next week?" "Company team building?" Yu Liang wondered. "When did it happen?" "Ah, you don't know. The Ding Talk group was already at the top the day before yesterday. Many people signed up, and the 2 of us went too. The day before yesterday? Oh, for the past 2 days, all of Yu Liang's attention has been focused on that magical hard drive. To be honest, he really didn't have much leisure and elegance to pay attention to other things. I opened Ding Talk and found out the company intends to organize team building activities next Sunday. Because it was a day off, not everyone signed up. Nowadays, those who sign up are basically young people in the company. Of course, because the company allows family members to accompany them, some seniors from the company signed up as families. "Brother Yu, are you going?" Yu Liang looked up and suddenly saw a pair of expectant eyes. Of course, Yu Liang understood that this didn't mean that He Ling Long was interested in him. It was because He Ling Long had not been in the company for an internship for a long time, and there were not many friends he knew and could talk to. If I hadn't helped her, I would have been a passerby. Therefore, when it comes to team building, it is normal for He Ling Long to wish to have another acquaintance to accompany her. "Okay, the company hasn't organized a team building for a long time, so let's participate," Yu Liang responded, and then carefully looked at the team building content. The group building this time was arranged in a tourist attraction around Yongcheng, Dongqian Lake. According to the content of the group building, they will take a bus to the Dongqian Lake tourist attraction, and at noon, there will be a self-service barbecue there. In the afternoon, there is also a bicycle race along the lake. Of course, the participants in this competition are basically all young people, and those who work as a family or older. Both take part in boat tours. It can be said that the company's arrangements are extremely appropriate, basically taking everyone's situation into consideration. It has to be said that the company has a lot of talents. Yu Liang took a look. Sister He Ling Long not only signed up for the team building, but also signed up for the cycling race along the lake in the afternoon. After taking a look at them, Yu Liang readily signed up. Yu Liang was not very interested in the team building of the company before. Not only him, many young people would rather sleep in for a day at home than get up so early to show their faces. The comfort in the bed in the morning is really unforgettable. But for this team building, Yu Liang glanced at the pair of smiling sisters in front of him. He really looked forward to it. Chapter 19, Get WeChat, One Step Closer. Today is the company's system self-inspection day. Yu Liang is a little busy for a while. At noon, the 2 girls went to eat together and happened to pass by the office where Yu Liang was. Yu Liang's office is very small, with only 2 workstations. However, one of the workstations has been empty for a long time, and next to the room is the office of Chun Tao, the vice president and network director. The 2 little girls passed the corridor, turned their eyes, and happened to see Yu Liang, who was fiddling with the computer. They stopped at the same time and then looked at each other. As expected of a pair of twin sisters, they didn't even need to speak. They understood each other's meaning just by looking at each other. At noon yesterday, it was said that they invited Yu Liang as a treat. But what about the result? They will never forget the scene in the Malatang shop. If it weren't for Yu Liang's sharp eyesight and quick hands, that dead fly. Thinking of this, the 2 sisters felt a little churning between their chests and abdomens, as if they were not very hungry. And then, Yu Liang actually took the 2 of them to have a big meal. Nearly 300 meals per person. This made them both quite uneasy. If it is an ordinary, scumbag girl who has been tested by society, eat men, use men, spend men's money, and then speak confidently. This is the opportunity they give men to pursue. Just like this, he was catching boys, and he even called it licking the dog, spare tire. Then, if you meet someone tall, rich, and handsome, kicking the spare tire away is also a normal choice. And in case the tall, rich, and handsome man he meets is an emotional liar, accidentally got pregnant or something, well, at this time, if you can get an abortion, you can do it. If you can't, then please lick the dog and spare tire she to be a father. As for whether they want to keep in touch with Gao Fushuai in the future, it depends on their fate. If it's such a woman, don't say that Yu Liang invited 300 Western food per capita. Even if a 0 is added at the end, they still eat with peace of mind. However, these 2 little girls are not deeply involved in the world, but they definitely don't think so. What they thought was that they had helped them so much and treated them to a big meal. If you don't go back, I really feel uneasy. Of course, they definitely can afford the 300 per capita consumption, but there is still no problem with ordinary lunch work meals. He Ling Long stepped into the office room with 1 foot and said, "Brother Yu, it's time for dinner. Do you want to eat?" Yu Liang glanced at the computer in front of him and said without hesitation, "Okay, let's go." He hit the pause button. This thing can be fiddled with any time. How can it be more important than eating with 2 little beauties? Of course, this is also because the wallet is thicker and the courage is full. If you want to go or not, you really need to think about it carefully. The 3 of them got into the elevator and came downstairs. He Ling Long asked habitually, "What do you eat?" Yu Liang turned his gaze, and an idea popped up in his mind. At this time, the 6th sense is often the time to erupt. It turns out that the so-called seeking good luck and avoiding bad luck can also be used when picking up girls. "I want to eat spicy pot." "Wow, that's great." Helena couldn't help cheering. The eyes looking at Yu Liang are extremely satisfied. Unexpectedly, twice in a row, what I wanted to eat coincided with Yu Liang's. Although she will not be superstitious about it, but it is undeniable that the favor for Yu Liang is swish, swish, swish. Of course, this kind of affection is far from reaching the level of the relationship between men and women. "Okay, mala hot pot." Ling Long thought for a while and said, "There are 3 mala hot pot stores here. Let's go." "The one on Dongadeo, Tianyi Square." "Sister, that one is the most expensive." "Is it?" Yu Liang wondered. The prices in such a small shop should be the same. "Hey, it seems that girls are indeed much more delicate than men when it comes to price. Expensive also has its advantages." Ling Long said, "We can see the kitchen of that family. I don't want to meet again." "Stop talking." Lingno waved her hands again and said, "Sister, listen to you. Let's go quickly. Dongadeo is not far from the company, and it takes more than half an hour to come and go to bring food. Generally speaking, the company stipulates that it takes half an hour for lunch. However, the boss of their private company is extremely enlightened. The prescribed working hours are from 9 to 5. But at noon, everyone was allowed to rest for an extra half an hour. Many colleagues lie on their desks to catch up on sleep. However, don't think that the boss is a saint if he does this. Because when it's 5 o'clock, there are really not many people who can really get off work on time. After lunch, Ling Long hesitated and said, "Brother Yu, let's add WeChat." Yu Liang remained calm and said, "Okay." They all know the ding talk number that each other uses when they work. But what about WeChat? Yu Liang seems to have heard someone say that in the past few months, they haven't added anyone except their colleagues in the department they belong to. After adding He Linglong's WeChat account, Yu Liang glanced at He Lingna intentionally or unintentionally. The little girl hesitated for a moment, then also took out her mobile phone. The relationship is to get along better. No matter where it comes from, WeChat got it today, and the relationship has gone a step further. Chapter 20. Draw 10 times in a row. In the evening, when Yu Liang came home, he was having dinner with his grandparents. Sure, Tianfeng said with a smile, while drinking a small wine. When I went to pick up EE today, Teacher Liu was very enthusiastic about me. She also said that our EE did very well in school. Really? Sure, Hui said in surprise. Of course. Yui raised her neck proudly and said, Ms. Liu said that I will be the lead dancer during this June 1st performance. Wow, E is so obedient, so smart, so amazing. Everyone in the family is overjoyed. They all thought that this was the position E had worked hard to get. Only Yu Liang smiled and said nothing. Yui thought for a while, and then said, Teacher Liu said that if you perform well, you should also recommend our class's program and participate in it. She frowned, obviously not remembering what the teacher said. Sure, Tianfeng laughed and said, If you perform well, you can participate in the selection in the district. But this is just a cutscene. The programs in the district have always been reserved by the first and second elementary schools. There is a very strange phenomenon in Yongqing Kindergarten. Haishu District is the world of public kindergartens. If there are any programs or events that stand out, it is the primary and secondary schools that stand out. However, in Inzhou District, that is the world of private kindergartens. However, that kind of private kindergarten is completely different from ordinary private kindergartens. That is noble kindergartens, such as Herd Kindergarten, etc. The tuition fee for each semester should be at least 50,000 yuan. In addition, all kinds of extracurricular training, as well as traveling abroad. In short, given the original conditions of Yu Liang's family, it is impossible to even think about it. After dinner, Yu Hai took his family back home. Yu Liang entered the room, his heart beating a little faster. In fact, when eating, he was already a little impatient. But after all, it has been a few days since he got the hard drive, and his energy-raising skills have improved a lot, and he can hold his breath. Now, sitting in front of the computer, Yu Liang turned on the computer and clicked into the hard drive. The next moment, the pleasing prompt bar suddenly appeared. The host spends 10 million today and can draw 10 times. Do you want to draw? Weather. Yu Liang opened his property panel. Host. Yu Liang. Race, human. Possessibility. Full score 5 points. Sixth sense, permanent. Computer, software, LV, 0.9. Computer, hardware, LV, 0.4. Own items. Garbage station, permanent. Portable space, single time. Number of lottery draws, 10 times. Yu Liang was about to click negative, but with a slight movement in his heart, he suddenly remembered something. The magic hard drive even has such fantasy things as portable space, so if the lottery continues, will there be any incredible things? Could it be that there is any skill or item that is more precious than the portable space? For example, the treasure involving time and karma? Although Yu Liang also knew that he thought this way, it was purely out of insufficiency. But if I can't bear this thought, it's like weeds under the spring rain, growing upwards. He gritted his teeth and clicked yes. 10 consecutive draws begin. The next moment, the roulette appeared, and the pointer turned rapidly. 20 seconds later, the first reward came out. Congratulations to the host. The item has been drawn. Map query single. Do you want to use it? Weather. Map query? What is this? Yu Liang clicked the mouse on the map, and then instructions appeared. Map query. You can enter the item or person name you want to query in the search bar, and you can instantly lock the location of the other party, with a global scope and a 12-hour time limit. Hey, this thing is pretty good, although its role overlaps somewhat with the search function in the permanent garbage bin. However, these are two very different functions. The things that can be searched in the garbage station are all things that have been forgotten or abandoned by the world. But this map query can find everything. The only pity is that this thing is the number of uses, yes, single. Hey, good stuff. What the magic hard disk gives are all good things. Each one makes people reluctant to part with it. The draw continued, and after 20 seconds, the pointer stopped. Congratulations to the host. The skill has been drawn. Skill duplication, single. Do you want to use it? Whether. Skill duplication? What is this? Yu Liang moved the mouse over it, and a row of instructions appeared. Skill copy, single, can copy the skills mastered by others to oneself. After each copy, the aging is maintained for 24 hours. Whoa! Yu Liang couldn't help exhaling the fragrance again. This is another super practical ability. Moreover, its value is so high that it is not even inferior to the Sixth Sense and portable space. I really want to turn it into my permanent skill. Yu Liang calmed down and continued to draw the lottery. 20 seconds later, a third reward appears. Congratulations to the host, the item has been drawn. Vajra Talisman, single time. Do you want to use it? Whether. Diamond Talisman? Yu Liang's expression suddenly became extremely strange. This hard drive, why did it start to take the fantasy style again? Vajra Talisman, single time after using it. An invisible and powerful defensive cover will cover the body, which can resist the power of sniper rifles and shelling without any damage, and lasts for 1 hour.